You're listening to the Heroed Out podcast. To find out how to hear the latest episode or to connect with us, please visit heroedout.com. Consumer discretion is advised.
All right, now we're back with another episode of Heroed Out podcast. I'm Kyle, your co-host, along here with Nick and a special guest.
Yes, I am. I'm going to walk all over Kyle in this intro, I guess. We have a special guest today. I'm excited to have. His name's Cusumano. Carl's a big, bald-headed fella. Been doing fire service for quite some time, so we want to bring him in, maybe give you some perspective to you younger guys. So, Carl, give us a little bit about you.
Let's see. Well, I just turned 50, unfortunately.
Happy birthday.
Started in the fire service in '88 as a cadet at Turnbull Volunteer Fire Department way back in the day, for those that may or may not know where that is here in Florida. Went into the Navy, got hired after I got out of the Navy with the City of Chesapeake Fire Department, worked there for a couple of years, left there to come home and help take care of my grandfather, who was ill. My mom needed some help. He passed away, and I got hired with the Department of Defense as a firefighter at Oceana Naval Air Station. Just by coincidence, I happened to tear my ACL like 2 weeks before 9/11 happened. So it was a whole interesting experience there.
Maybe a little divine intervention.
Maybe. Yeah. And then I transferred to Mayport Naval Base Fire Department, worked there for a couple of years, and then I work where I'm at now since 2005.
Yeah, no, God, I'm going to make you feel really old. I was born in '86.
And my wife was born in '88, so I say to her all the time when she says something about being a kid, I'm like, oh, I was on my med cruise when you were in kindergarten.
Did you tell her, don't worry about it? She looks at you and says, check at the calendar. You'll get depressed. You don't have as many left as I do.
Yeah, she's ready. She's just going, okay, come on, life insurance.
We got okay having.
Awesome. So in the military, were you a firefighter in there as well?
Yep, I was a damage controlman in the Navy, which is really progressed from what it used to be under the Reagan years, when it was just everybody was in like a literally raincoat and they gave you a fire hose. We're like, go fight the fire, you'll be fine. And then after the USS Stark got hit, that changed. We got turnout gear, but it was all a one-piece ensemble kind of thing. And then they started really incorporating foam. And you see on the TV everywhere, were you exposed to AFFF in the military? Sometimes
You
it
might have a
happens.
case.
Yeah.
So whenever you went, is that what your MOS was? Is that what your job career, was that what you chose to go in as when you went into the Navy?
Yeah. Damage controlman sounded cool. One of the recruiters was a damage controlman, and he was telling me all about it. And I was like, oh man, this is right up my alley. I like being a firefighter.
This camo-clad salesman got you.
Yeah, I can be one in the Navy. Oh, everything is going to be great. And then my first ship was an amphibious assault ship, which sucked. It sucked. That ship was awful. Even though on Facebook now, the group is
right.
Like, they're all like, oh God, the Pensacola was great. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Stop lying to yourself.
It's fucking terrible.
And then my second ship was an aircraft carrier. So it's like going from a Yugo to a Cadillac.
Right.
But my aircraft carrier is the George Washington, which is the one that everybody's now committing suicide on.
Oh, well, don't do that.
Oh God, yeah, it's terrible.
That.
Terrible.
So with you going in, was it like a legacy type of thing for you to get into firefighting, or any friends or family that? Yeah,
it was. My grandfather on my dad's side was the director of the New Jersey State Fire College.
Okay.
So that was kind of a thing, and my dad had been a volunteer in the first aid squad up in the Newark, New Jersey area. And that medical thing had always kind of been in my family. My grandmother on my mom's side was a nurse. My mom is a sonographer. My dad, one of the first PAs in the country, went through the Cornell program. So it's all kind of in that mix.
Yeah, that whole medical field kind of ingrained in you then.
Well, that's, a lot of people that go in, they have that. It's a lot of family. It's a lot of friends that they've had. Like my dad was a cop. His dad was a cop. His dad's dad was a cop, and so on and so forth. So I can't see how you didn't venture far from that. When you look at it now, you're talking about going back 25, 30 years. What have you seen dramatically different from then? And what do you think is still similar? Obviously the job concept is the same, but what do you think some of the most impactful things have happened and changed in your career?
Really, I think one of the things that's changed the most is the way that we approach firefighting now, whereas before it used to be everybody just charge in there and go get it. And now, after a bunch of guys died from truss roof collapses, everybody's like, okay, time out, hang on. We actually need to walk around the building and see what's going on.
Right.
Because the front isn't necessarily the back and vice versa. So that's changed a lot. And what thankfully has changed very recently is the way that we're starting to treat people. You know, because before it just used to be do your 20 years. You know, hey, you ran a call with 6 kids that are all splayed out all over the road. You'll be fine. Go wash the truck. And oh yeah, by the way, I need the report done in the next 5 minutes. Yeah, that kind of thing. So thankfully, that's going by the wayside.
Yeah. Did you, when you first started, were you just fire or were you fire and EMS? Was it combination departments? I hate to say back then, like it was.
No. It was. But. So one of the cool things, so I worked for the city of Chesapeake Fire Department when I got out of the Navy, and up there in Virginia at the time, there was 4 different levels of EMS. So you had EMT basic, then you had shock trauma tech, then you had cardiac technician, and then you had paramedic. So basically, each ALS license was broken down to that semester of paramedic school. So your first, second, third semester. So everybody and their brother up there was a ALS, and all the departments were. Well, I'm sorry, with the exception of Virginia Beach, they were all fire EMS combined.
Right.
Beach was like the land was. You know, they're just like BLS. We're not going to do it. And then all of a sudden they were like, you know what? You know what would be really cool is if we put paramedics on our fire truck. And then, that's been 20, 30 years now. So.
Yeah. I'd also have to think with the advancement in gear and technology. I mean, I don't think you guys were carrying a thermal imaging camera, 25 years ago.
No, but I remember when they first came out. That's how old I am. I remember when they first came out. We had them in the Navy, and they were these basically looked like a keg with a handle on it,
and like a radar gun, the old school radar gun.
Yeah, it was. I can't use both arms, but I mean the thing was like this big. You know what I mean?
Occupational hazard.
Yeah,
turn the channels.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then of course, you do what everybody does. You take it, you run around the freezer around the ship, and look at so and so's mustache through
giving everybody cancer. You don't even know.
Yeah, hell yeah, Halon, AFFF. Thermal imaging camera.
You'll live.
Yeah, we'll be fine. That's what the VA's for. They'll take care of us.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard they're doing well.
Yeah.
I want to touch on an interesting point you mentioned just a bit ago about how things have changed, especially like internally and how we treat people. I think that's been pretty universal, from what I've seen in all public service areas, like military, law enforcement, stuff like that. There's a lot more to do, but I do think there's a lot more programs that it's becoming less stigmatic to talk about,
For you guys, how do you, like, say you want to rerun a critical call, something you think that would warrant? What is your professional protocol? Like, what does your industry do, and then what do you do personally? Like I was telling him, like we would come back, we'd have a shift debriefing, and there would be no rank, there would be no years of service. It would be, hey, let's talk about things, whether it be through tactics or safety or so on and so forth. So, what is it you guys are seeing on your side?
So and this has changed. So this is all part of it. A few years ago, maybe it's more than a few years ago. I think it's going on 10 now. We ran a drowning out in a fairly rural area, and we were the first engine there. And VCSO beat us there, and they dragged the kid out, and so we're doing CPR and all that kind of crap on the kid, and we took the kid to the hospital. We jumped in the ambulance, took the kid to the hospital, and then when we got there. It was right after you turned the patient over. Then it was like, are you okay? You're okay? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Hey, listen, the report needs to be done. We need it done like now.
Right.
Okay. Nowadays, if you run into a critical call like that, we have the critical incident team. I mean, they're on the phone with you right away. Sometimes even before you leave the scene, they're like, hey, if you need anything, call us. We'll come by. We'll talk to you. Let's talk about it. Let's get it all, out in the open. Feelings are okay. Whereas before, way back in the day, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Now, your team being on call, are they individuals that are on shift normally, or is this a team that's assembled, they're on call after hours and off duty?
It just depends. They could be on shift, they could be off shift, but it's a team, and so they get activated and they call. And what they have done in the past is if they're on shift, they'll take them from their station. Hey, we need you to go to station like 14, whatever. And go talk to them, take an hour, 2 hours, however long it takes, talk to them, and then come back to work. So
right.
It's gotten a lot better in that.
Now, is there anything you do with your guys, with your crew specifically outside of that?
No, we go back and we talk about it. We'll talk on the way there, ask them if they're okay. And I don't want to sound like one of those guys that's like, oh, I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Because obviously I haven't, but it's one of those that if I'm talking to you, All right, now we're getting stuff out in the open, right? And it's
Right.
easier. You may not want to talk to the incident stress team, and that's fine. You and I are talking, and we're
Right.
good, you know. And then if I see something wrong, then my job is to tell the battalion chief, hey, you know, he's not handling it very well. He needs to get some help. Let's get him off shift and go get him checked out.
Yeah, and I think one thing that him and I have talked about quite a few times is that with things that are critical incident like that, you should have, I don't want to say a buddy system. You have somebody you can talk to, and you should build that relationship long before you're worried about the judgment of somebody listening to you and you're feeling judged. So you should have that rapport and built. And I think that's important for the new guys coming up in any of these high risk positions, that you build that person. It doesn't even have to be somebody you work with, friends, family, whatever, that you can bring this up to and talk to about. And I think sometimes not having that person who's assigned to come talk to you, like, hey, you sure
Yeah.
you're all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Hang the phone up, but having that,
Which is the way it is. Nobody
absolutely.
wants that, you know. Now, the people that they have, I will caveat that by the people that we have now, they're very outgoing and they're very friendly. So it's not so much that anymore. It's like, you know, hey, yeah, can I call you off duty? Is that cool? Sure, call me first thing tomorrow morning, and I got you taken care of.
right? Yeah, it's something that should have been addressed a long time ago. The stigma associated with mental illness or weakness, and I really feel like everyone hearing it from different parts of the population hopefully will allow it just to be able to talk about mental health, because like on one of our previous shows we were talking about some of the highest suicide rates after retirement, one of the lowest life expectancies, highest risk of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, any one of these things that are known to kill you, they take away, and why. And I think that's a lot of it's the stress that people carry.
Those are, good points, good practices, obviously, for the critical things. What about stuff where it's not a critical incident, but it's something like could have gone to shit real bad? What do you guys do, or what have you guys done to, debrief after that? Instead of just, name calling and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So now it's not a blame game. So let's say we run a structure fire and the building flashes over, and or just whatever happens, right? So now, as soon as the incident's over, before anybody leaves, let's get together and talk about it. What did you see? What you see? What I see? What do you think happened? What do you think happened? Could we have done something better? We even do it at training now, which is really great considering the way it just used to be. You used to go back to the station and be like, oh, God, man, those jack wagons
Carl
on that
jacked
other
that
engine,
up.
they
Yeah,
just
he fucked
fucked
that
that whole thing up.
Now, how often, and to be honest with me, how often have you heard somebody speak up, and when you guys get in the truck, that guy's a fucking moron. He doesn't know. I mean, don't tell me it doesn't happen, because I have to assume it does, because I know that I've thought the same thing. And I'm leading to a point after this.
Sure. It does, but I don't think it happens the way that it used to.
as
You know what I mean?
pervasive
Because
as it
now
used to be.
now we're trying to look at it more of like intellectually than physically, and go,
Yeah, no, his dick is bigger. Like, hey, we're
Yeah.
trying to help each other out.
yeah, like, oh man, you know what? I was so tunnel visioned on, I got to hurry up and vent this window. I didn't think to do A, B, C, D before that.
Right.
That kind of thing.
And Kyle brought up a good point a few days ago when him and I were talking. He was saying that if you are having a discussion like this, your most junior guy should be the first person to speak.
Sure.
Because not only that, because someone will shut his opinion down, where you get the look from the boss. It's like, hey, keep your fucking mouth shut. Type of we don't talk about our business outside of our family. So I think that's also something to consider. I mean, how with new people are you guys? Because I know in certain agencies and certain professions, there's still a lot of
Earn your wings. Type of thing.
significantly. And I think maybe not so much as it used to be, but I'm sure it's still present. Prevalent.
I mean, there always is going to be that you were handed the badge. Now you got to go earn it. The great part about having a new guy is they're going to see from an outside view. They're going to be like, okay, I wasn't expecting that we were going to do that. Why did we do this? Why did we do that? And then all of a sudden it goes from a criticism moment to a teaching moment. So,
Right.
He goes, oh, in school we learned to do this. Okay, well, out in the real world, it's not practical to do this, but hey, it's great that you brought it up. Next time, think about, we'll do this.
Now, do you think that's industry-wide, or do you think that's just something you've adopted? Because I've worked with a lot of people that I don't like. Like, I don't like their personality. I think they're
Yeah.
a terrible person. I mean, are they trying to bring that type of mindset where, hey, look, we all need to be able to communicate and everybody's here to help? I mean, are they still?
Well, I think that's where you're trying to go. You're always going to have that where you just, I mean, there are people that I don't like.
Yeah. Wife's behind the camera, by the way.
Love you, honey. But I mean, you're always going to have those people that come across as being a dick, right? It's just going to happen. But you still have to work through that because at the end of the day, they're part of your organization. They're going to be on, they're going to be on some call, and you gotta kind of grin and bear it,
I'm fucking smiling because him and I just discussed this in our prior episode. We talked about you never know who you may not like the person.
Right.
Try to let's be professionals at the end of the day. And I think the one thing that we should carry from this is that their life depends on that other person and vice versa. So I think it's really rewarding for me to preach it, for him to preach it, and to hear you saying the same thing, because I think that's what's escaped a lot of the younger generation when they come in. There are a lot of trying to outdo the other or stepping on another to make yourself look better. I think that people could take a lot from that by leaving that at the house.
Man, I had a supervisor a few years ago that guy was just he'd fucking knife you in the back the minute he had a chance.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody knew it, but nobody wanted to say anything. And thankfully he doesn't work for us anymore, but it's just, that kind of toxic bullshit needs to go.
No, and that's the toxic part of any high stress job that I think is what people often forget is something that they have control of. Like that's something you can make a difference about. I don't like to worry about the shit that I can't change. Like, why am I worried about things that don't affect me or things that I don't have any control of? So you're going to stress on top of things that you have no control over. And I think that's one thing that maybe coming from your side and ours, our prior career as well, is that you're part of these new guys. Don't worry about it. It ain't your fucking job. Like if they tell you, hey, Carl, today you're going out and you're rounding up picking EMS supplies. Well, I guess that's your fucking job today. You get paid by the hour. And I think they take offense to taking on these tasks that they think are below them. But at least in our line of work, you could see some people would buck the system very early before they had the right to over these, mundane day-to-day operational tasks.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, that comes with being in the type of job that this is, the one that you guys were in, and then even in firefighting and EMS, where you're told like the whole time through recruit school, like, man, you were going to go out there and there's going to be nothing but bad guys and there's going to be bullets flying and you're going to be the hero.
That's what your recruiter told you in the military.
Yeah, right? And the recruiter's
like,
the same.
This fucking job sucks.
And like fire school, it's all like, man, well, fire school, it's like, man, you were going to go out there, you're going to get a structure fire every day. And you're going to be on the news, and you smile when you do it, and you look at what they don't tell you.
You'll make a calendar soon.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. Right. So what they don't tell you is you're going to pick up old people 99% of the time. You get the 3 S's, right? You can bet on them every shift: a shooting, a shitting, or a stabbing, right? So all of that's going to happen, right? And then at the end of the day, you go, okay, fuck, another citizen assist,
right?
Or we have to go. Shuttle and apparatus from here to there, and you just go, you know what? Fine, let's do it. We're going to waste time. We'll go get some fresh air. It's like you're saying, it's just part of the job. We just got to do it.
And I was telling him the other day, I said, I can't remember the statistic, but it was something like 93% of calls are medical, 5 or 6 are other, and like less than 1% are actual legitimate structure fires.
Right.
Of that 1%, like a 1/10 of a percent, you have, trash fire, car fire, brush fire, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's funny because it's the same thing. Like, they tell you you're going to be fucking running and gunning and, you're going to be putting bad guys in jail. Next thing you know, you're at a school zone for 4 hours a day, fucking watching people walk their kids to school, man. Yep. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Traffic signal does your job, but you got to do it again,
Yeah.
It would probably be easy to fall in that negativity trap,
Yep.
having that toxic person or toxicity in the department, and then you get that shit job on top of it. Like, that can be cancerous.
It is. And so what you have to do is you have to go, okay, you know what? Like when I first got into the fire department, when I worked for the city of Chesapeake, I had an old school lieutenant who got hired there like in the early 70s, mid 70s. He'd been in Vietnam. This is, again, how old I am, right? And his thing was the TV's not on during the day, right? because that's the way he was brought up in the fire service. Essentially, he was a great guy. He really was, but his style was just, hey, look, read a book, shine the flagpole for 8 hours a day, and that's not what we're doing anymore. It's kind of like de-stress when you can, because there's nothing, especially here in this area, where, man, it's just like every day. It's like, you hear the radio, the tones go off, and it's like cardiac arrest or drowning or something.
How about overdose?
Like
you get tired of
For those that like the news and all that chaos and stuff like that, you don't hear about 1% of what actually happens.
No.
Correct. Yeah.
And we love. Well, I've been on both sides. I worked at the fire service and in law enforcement, but I'm sure you guys enjoy ragging on the cops as much as we enjoy ragging on you guys. But
there's nothing better.
Yeah. No. Fuck no. We hate you guys. So the one thing I think that we
Does that mean you hate yourself because you did both?
Yeah. Have you fucking met me? Have you met me?
Yeah, this is true.
So
Freud wrote books about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that the one where he loves his mother?
Yeah.
The mother, yeah.
No, that's Oedipus Rex.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you're way off.
I saw that. It was on Pornhub. Anyways, so don't spit your water out, Carl. It's expensive equipment. So we love ragging on you guys, but in all seriousness, I think the one thing that gets lost is just like with police, they got tossed. The schools, you get tossed dealing with mental health. You get tossed with dealing with, my neighbor's dog took a deuce in my front grass. Like you get tossed, but on you guys, it's the same thing. It's not just fire and EMS. There's anything and everything that people don't know how to deal with. That there's only a couple people that come when they call.
Right. So I got to do this hand to God. Right. Listen to me. I'm going to tell you the truth. When I was working at our busiest engine, and I took pride in being in our busiest engine. I'll segue real quick. There is a part of the fire service that takes pride in being shit on, right? It's like we're the busiest engine. Our fire station is a rat nest, but you know what? We're running 25 calls a shift.
I think I've seen this show before called Rescue Me.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is that certain pride where you're like, you're getting beaten, but you know what? We're the team.
Yeah.
Anything outside of these four walls, fuck them. But I got called one time because somebody ate cat food. Somebody called 911 because my best friend ate cat food. Now, a deputy showed up because this comes in as like some weird 911 call, right? But literally the notes are, person's friend ate cat food.
Yeah,
That's worse than a cat in a tree.
Or how about the guy who got the Kongs, the dog toys Kongs? The guy got one stuck in his butthole.
It does not surprise
beyond
me.
that. I'm sure it was up.
My oldest daughter's favorite call for me to do. The Hitachi magic wand, slow, medium, blow my brains out. Right?
Yeah.
Dude, naked on his couch. The thing was running, right? And he's dead. Dead as a fucking doornail. He came and went.
God,
yeah.
Good for him.
And a deputy walked up, and I'm walking out because I can't control my laugh.
I can't.
It's sad. It's terrible.
Oh,
but
you definitely can't.
Yeah, and it's like, he's like, what is so funny? I'm like, man, you got to go in there and see this. And this dude is laid out on the couch.
You left it running for him, didn't you?
Do what?
You left it running for him.
Oh, yeah.
So he had the full experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he could get the whole, and he comes out, he's laughing too. And it's just, we all needed that for today,
And I hate to say it, but that's a part of the job that doesn't bother me.
No.
Him and I went to a call. He'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We got a call one night. Guys, 911, help! I was being kidnapped. I broke out. Whatever. Please come get me. So like, okay. So we're rounding up the people and all the fucking everything you can think of. We're gonna go save this guy. We get there and no answer. Boom, boom, boom. Knock on the door. Boom, 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 boom. Knock on the door. Boom. Go in. Dude, if I'm lying, I'm dying. He is waiting in the living room, one leg up on the couch, with a dildo that had to be 18 inches long, just fucking going to town, just having the best time of his life. Never kidnapped. I guess he just wanted a fucking audience.
You know what's great?
What's that?
I have no recollection of that.
No,
at all.
that was his dream last night.
Are you sure that
It
happened?
might have also been on the video as much of it. No, I remember that clear as day. I said, "You got to be kidding me!" But it's the stuff like that they don't tell you about,
Correct.
And that's the stuff that I'll tell you one thing they do tell you specifically though. If police, fire, EMS, EMT, paramedic, all of them, the first thing they always told me the first day, anytime you have a new instructor, what do they say? If you came in this job to make money, get out. You're not going to make any money.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that we talk about. We actually, in an episode coming up that we're about to release, we talk about making those sound financial decisions. And one thing you had brought up earlier was you talked about having a 20-year retirement. And I think that's one thing a lot of young guys don't understand is that there's a difference in your retirement. From what your contribution is to what your multiplier is. And I think those are all very important working in different places. Have you been able to carry some of your either 401k or carry those years over?
So luckily for me, like I wasn't in any of them long enough to, and I say luckily for me, but I wasn't in any of them long enough to have any real contributions in there. But being in the FRS is great because I'm actually in the pension side. A lot of guys went into the investment side, but it's just a little bit too risky for me. I prefer knowing that at the end of 25 years, I'm going to get X number of dollars and I can always go in and go see it. And it's not market dependent, right? Not like the new kids now. They got to do 30 years before they can
30. That's a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. Like some of these kids that we just hired, they're like, wait a minute. I'm going to be like 60 when I retire? Yeah.
Yeah, when you're eligible.
Doesn't even mean you're retired.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And also in Florida, they moved up your drop. They're
right.
talking about moving from 5 years to 8 years.
I just read that today, actually. So, for the guys that were in with 25, if you can come out and do 7 or 8 years and drop, you're going to benefit and make a lot of money. If you're in a regular 30-year program and you do 7 more years, that's a lifetime.
Yeah. It is. And at that point, somebody needs to go, wait a minute, time out. Do we really want cops in their 60s and 70s? Do we want firefighters and EMS that late in their lives? Going out there, chasing a suspect with a walker. You know what I mean?
We're not allowed to chase anybody anymore. So.
Well, I'm sorry. Walk briskly behind them.
Watch them aggressively from a distance. So one of the things that we're talking about is the fact that a lot of these agencies are losing these people, not necessarily coming to the end of their time and terming out and going out to pasture. These people that have that 5 to 12-year range, people that have just they're a significant asset to these agencies and departments, and they're losing them. So what you're going to have is that gap with experience. You'll have that gap with supervisory experience, management. And I think that's one thing that's affected law enforcement is you guys having that same issue in the fire side, people leaving in that range.
Yeah. So basically, as it just so happens, I'm on the negotiation team and we're in contract negotiations now. And we're seeing local agencies, and I mean Central Florida by local, now suddenly they're going, hey, wait a minute. We can't recruit people. We can't get people to stay. Why not? Oh, we haven't changed our pay since 1985. So, for example, your pay for my rank ends at like 76,000, let's say. But it's been there. It's been at 76 grand as top out pay since 2000. So it hasn't changed. And those guys leave to go to bigger cities that have a step plan that they go, okay, I get in year 1 and year 15, I know that I'm going to be making X, which is way more than I made here.
Right.
So, those extra 5 years, who cares?
That's one thing that I've seen with different contract negotiations in different agencies and different places is that you may have a topped out pay of, I don't care if it's $500,000 a year. If there's no way to get there, that number, it's irrelevant. It's the carrot that never swings back,
Right. Like me, there's no way, there's no mapped out way for me to get to top out pay. None.
It doesn't exist.
No, it just doesn't. Well not. Right. And it's just compression upon compression. There's one of the lieutenants in my department. He got promoted just a couple years ago, and I got promoted in 2006 to lieutenant. He makes like $1 an hour less than I do.
And that's a lot of things that people need to discuss. And again, one of our episodes we're releasing soon is talking about people that are at that I call it the midlife crisis in your career. It's a point where you're like, fuck, what am I going to do? So I'll give you a real background real quick on one of the reasons that I left. So I was in the FRS and I had just about 15 years or so in the retirement system. And I took, they have a calculator you put on there and move it over, see what you get in the investment. And mine was just about $250,000, about $250,000. So I sat down one day and I did the math and I said, okay, so every 6 to 7 years, the market doubles. So if I have 250 in there, 500, that, so on and so forth.
Let's be honest. You didn't do the math. I did the math.
Yeah, he did. He did the math for me. Test. So I said, okay, I'm 35. I'm not too young or too old to to make a life-changing decision. I in a good spot financially, personally, where I can make this change, and I have some other things mapped out that were lined up. This is really well paying, by the way. This is step one, actually.
Yeah, this is
so it's good. It's doing good. So I took that 250 at 35, and let's just say every 7 years it doubles. I do 4 7-year cycles. I'll be 64, right? At 64, I'll have $4 million in the bank if I add nothing to it and I take nothing from it, historically speaking, right? So then I went and did the math. If I stayed in the plan, and from my retirement age of 49 up to 64, I lost $1.875 million difference because of the market growth. So
yeah, the difference in a pension is they average about 4 to 6% growth, and that's if you get a COLA, because some places don't even do a COLA now. So what they put in versus what you get out of it, it's like an average of 4 to 6% versus the market's 10 to 12.
So I even estimated it off of if I did 100,000 a year for 5 years in my top 5, and I dropped it 75%, 75,000 minus taxes, I'd be 1.875 million, almost half the difference in those 14 years. I'd lose $2 million or roughly. And that's if I put nothing else in it. So that's where I think one thing we should tell these people when they're coming, you got to plan early. You have to plan very, very early.
Yep. Oh yeah. Cause if you don't, it's suddenly you're going to realize that, oh man, now I need to work like an overtime shift a week in order to make money. To make that money, to have money when I retire. And nobody wants to be beholden to, nobody got in the job going, well, I'm just going to work my ass off in overtime and then retire. That's kind of like an afterthought. Suddenly you get hit with it after you've been there, 5-6 years. You're like, whoa, I'm not making what I thought I'd make. Even though nobody said I'd be a millionaire, but it ain't close. Yeah. So now I got to work my ass off. No,
yeah, nothing's wrong with a pension. A guaranteed mailbox paycheck is great, but don't rely on that solely. Do other stuff,
right?
457, Roth IRAs, whatever. Like that's like saying, hey, we're going to retire on Social Security.
Yeah.
Like if you get 50 grand 20 years from now, it ain't much money.
No.
And that was one of my other concerns, because I remember thinking 10, 15 years ago when I got hired, 2004, 5, that man, these people are, they're going to have $75,000, $80,000 a year for the rest of their life. And I'm like, okay, that seemed like a lot. Now I'm like, 70, 80 grand don't go that far anymore, man.
No.
You can't buy anything. I mean, used trucks are selling for over $100,000 for a used truck. I mean, I can't afford to live.
That's why, like right now, working overtime, you pay off. If you can do it, work your overtime and let that pay off your bills. Don't get used to living on the overtime. That way, when you do retire, hey man, my house has only got like 10 grand left to pay off, or something like that. A vehicle where you can live comfortably,
right?
But you got to be prepared that the financial hit of being in public safety happens at the end of your career.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely plan your life accordingly, and don't outlive your means for sure. For sure. So with the hiring and retention stuff, did you guys, or do you see like most of it is money related and they're going to other departments, or they just get out on the field, or is it a mix?
So for us, unfortunately, it was staffing, because we still have 2-person fire trucks, 2 firefighters on a fire truck, and it's 2020. We're steamrolling to 2023. Now that is being fixed. They are hiring, but prior to that, one of the big jokes was in our training center, we have pictures of all the new hire classes. There are more people missing than are still working. Because all those people were like, I'm not going to be a 2-man fire truck. That's ridiculous. And I'm also not going to work for the pay that we're getting paid here. It's not worth it. So they go to the bigger cities or the bigger counties, and suddenly they're much more paramilitary than we are. But they've accepted that because now they're getting paid better, and they don't have to worry about rolling into a house fire, car crash, CPR with just one other person. So that's where we are. By the end of this year, I think we're going to have 3 on every truck, and I cannot believe that in 2022 I'm saying that we haven't hit that yet, but it's happening. It's happening, so that's going. Now the only thing that we need to fix after that is the financial part of it, so that guys don't get hired and work here for a couple of years and get experience that the bigger departments like.
You become a training ground.
Correct. And it's just constant turnover, and that's not good for Not good for us, not good for them.
But I think most of it's not good for the community. You know,
Right.
They're paying the taxes for this service, and I know that sometimes services suffer. You know, we work with city agencies when we were at the sheriff's office, and you can see that sometimes it was taxing on them, and it's harder to recruit, especially smaller ones that don't have that ability to dig a little deeper into the city funding. So it's definitely a consistent problem. But so you obviously talked to the new guy. What about the guys that are, you know, where you are in your career coming up on the end? What can you tell them? Say, hey, listen, there's light at the end of the rainbow, but here's what you should be looking for.
Interestingly, I had this discussion with another guy I'm on light duty with who got hired a few years before I did. And I said to him, do you think maybe we don't see the changes because we're so far into the weeds on the ground level that we don't see? And now we're both on light duty and logistics, and the battalion chief in charge of logistics doing a great job. I mean, we're remodeling kitchens and stations, and all this stuff is being done. But when you're right there on the ground level, you know, you don't see that, right? You don't see that, hey, the department bought the best turnout gear that money can buy. It really is. We have the best turnout gear there is. Our fire apparatus are all top of the line. I mean, these things are, you know, $1.5 million. We're getting ladder trucks now that are like $1.2 million. Our squad trucks, our heavy rescues, you know, they're you guys have seen these things, right? I mean, they're friggin' monstrous, right? Yeah. You can almost stand up in the cabs before you couldn't. So I think when you get to, so I don't know, right? You get to that point where you're kind of like, you don't see it.
Yeah.
Because it's all going on here, and you're just kind of at the station level or in the car level, right? And you're not seeing the growth going around you because you're so far into the ground.
Right. And that's one of the things that I put down here I want to talk to you about is the communication internally. And I think that would be a giant positive for that type of problem to head those people, because people can get, you know, negativity can spread a lot faster than positivity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So having a way to have that communication or dialogue, whether it's a internal newsletter or like, hey, a video from the chief about constant updates of what his direction is and what I think knowledge is power. And in this way, it's the power to control that negativity.
It is. And that's the fastest way to do it, is to kill it, right? By putting out a newsletter once a month. These are the stations that are due for renovation. This is where we are with hiring. This is where we are with fire truck buying. This is where we are with, you know, whatever. Just let people know. And if they don't know, then everybody's like, well, fuck this place.
They get to write their own narrative.
Yeah,
you know?
they do. They're at the station, and God damn it, I just got mandated again for the, you know, freaking third time this month. And, you know, I've had it, but okay, that's part of the job. But hey, look, all this other stuff is going around. So, you know, you got to kind of like try to balance that out.
Right.
Yeah, the only thing faster than the speed of light is the rumor mill.
Oh, yeah. Telephone, telegraph, telefirefighter. Sure.
Yeah, that's it. Trust me with your wife, not your money or your life. Which one is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't keep your honey where you make your money. Yeah.
That's it. So you've done this for quite. Is there anything you regret doing, or anything you wish you'd done differently, or anything? I mean, I know obviously there's always going to be those like, probably should have done that different. But all in all, I mean,
well, I tell you what, I honestly wish I had the opportunity to go to take orders to the special boat unit, which is, you know, those are the guys that actually carry the Navy SEALs around. They're not necessarily, the craziness level isn't like Navy SEAL level, but you're on the boat, you get to wear camo and shoot guns, but you don't have to do like all the super crazy shit.
Yeah, like the real
yeah,
stuff. Real stuff.
No, I don't want that. Just, I want to look cool and be like, I was there, right? That I wish I would have done differently. But then, you know, I look back and I think, man, I have it really good where I'm at. You know, I got a good job, good career. I got a great family. And then the part of me internally goes, well, if any of those things had changed along the way, would I be where I am now?
Right.
You know, and I don't know necessarily that I'd be willing to trade the past for a different present, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
you don't want to go change your timeline, butterfly effect.
Oh,
anything,
God,
right?
no. That would be terrible.
Yeah. Well, Carl, thank you for coming in today. We're going to wrap up this episode. I think we'll actually probably have you stick around. Maybe we'll go ahead and cut some more tapes here in just a few. But basically, I got to piss, so I can't hold it any longer. So
Thanks for
Hear
having me.
It Out, please make sure you reach us at hearitoutofficial at gmail.com, or you can go to hearitout.com. You're always on Facebook, iHeartRadio, Pandora. Kyle, take us out, man.
All right. As always, guys, stay safe.